Welcome back to Couch Talk, everybody. I just got done seeing The First Man, the true story based off of Neil Armstrong and the first man on the moon. This movie is directed by Damien Chazelle, and he is Hollywood's new star director. He did Whiplash, La La Land, and now this. And I kind of like that he has big gaps in between all of his movies because it shows he really takes his time deciding what he wants to do and he finds something that he's passionate about. And he's clearly very passionate about this because he pours his whole heart out into this movie. So as you know, this movie follows Neil Armstrong, played by Ryan Gosling, and it isn't just about the mission to the moon and watching them go to the moon, but how they prepare to. You go through all the steps from the very beginning when it was just an idea, a fabrication of going there, and then you see them go through all the training they have to go to prepare themselves for doing this really dangerous mission. Now, before I went into this movie, I heard a lot of people that I used to watch on YouTube all the time review this movie and talk about how boring it was and how it was really hard to just get attached to. And I completely disagree. I thought this movie was stellar, like through and through. I thought the scenes where Ryan Gosling is going through the training courses and like all the different things he had to do to prepare himself in case of failure were really exciting. And then the scenes that he wasn't training were all just scenes to pretty much show how good of an actor he was. There was a lot of scenes to show that he has a lot of dramatic chops, which, I mean, we all know he does, but there's this one scene in particular that really stuck with me, that he starts to break down and cry, and the camera just never leaves his face, and I was just really impressed with how well he did. It's not an easy task to pull off crying that good for that long, and I was really impressed with it. And then there's just another couple scenes that, really, let him show, how heavy this all is, on his, shoulders, and, how stressed out he is, and, a lot of the scenes are, him and his wife growing more distant and fighting, and just the stress of all these people that are dying around him because sadly, to get this mission to the point where it could be accomplished, a lot of people had to go through some trials that were unsuccessful and took their lives. And these were all that his friends, people that he grew very close with, in trying to complete this mission. So you get a couple scenes where he has to mourn the death of people that he cared very deeply for. So it's just, when it's not the exciting stuff of the training, it is the very emotional stuff that he has to go through. And it's not just Ryan Gosling that gets to shine here. Claire Foy, who plays his wife Janet, kills it in this role. She was not just thrown in there to just be the wife in the background. She has a few really good moments to shine in this movie. One in particular is when she's in a car with Jason Clarke's character. She gives this little speech that I thought was really powerful. And there's the other one that you saw in the trailer where she's pretty much yelling at Kyle Chandler and telling him that they don't have anything under control. I'm not going to go into details of what led into that moment, but she kills it in that scene. And there's also a big fight between her and Ryan Gosling closer towards the end before he's about to leave for the mission that I thought she did very well. I thought that they both brought their A game, and that's not to say that there aren't any other actors in this movie that are big, because this whole cast is pretty much all A-list actors. And although they have really tiny parts, I always like to say there's no such thing as a small actor but a small role, because even though they were so small, they still killed it in all of their respective roles. I mean, this movie has so many actors. Aside from Claire Foy and Ryan Gosling, it also has Jason Clarke, Kyle Chandler, Corey Stoll, Syrian Hinds, I believe that's how you say his name, Pablo Schreiber, Shea Wigham. I mean, I guess he's not the biggest actor. He'll always be the guy that Paul Walker broke his nose in the Fast and Furious to me. But I can go on and on and on. And, these actors aren't in this movie for the paycheck. Obviously, they're not getting a huge paycheck for their smaller parts. But they are in it because it is such a monumental occasion that happened. It was such a, one small step for man, one large leap for mankind. It was just such a big moment, not just for America, but for humankind. So to get to portray these characters, I'm sure was more of an honor than anything, and they all just killed it. Overall, I really dug this movie. It does have politics in it, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I understand why it needed to be in this movie. I mean, every time they successfully further the progression of the mission, they make a quick joke oh, call the Soviets and let them know that we're beating them now, because I mean, factually, that's what was happening. America and Russia were racing to be pretty much the first people to land on the moon, and Russia was always one step ahead of us until the moon landing. So it was very political, and and then aside from that, there was also a little bit in the movie where you see a bunch of people singing, kind of near where the NASA base was, and they're pretty much singing a song about how there are people that are starving and poor and broke, but America's dumping all their money into sending people to the moon, And like you see a quick like couple snippets of like news anchors like talking to like citizens like just on the street and asking them how they feel about it, and like them saying like, they think that going to the moon is pointless and that America should be, using that money to like better help the people that live on Earth rather than sending someone to the moon. So you had that whole political aspect to it, and then you also have this whole stupid controversial moment about the American flag not being planted in the final scene of the movie, which, like, I guess I kind of get it, but I just don't agree with it because I can't go into spoilers about what happens when he's on the moon, but he clearly had a different agenda of going there, and to him, it wasn't about being the first American on the moon. It was about being the first human being on the moon. So planting the flag wasn't his first priority. It wasn't what was on his mind. It was planted, but even Damien Chazelle and Ryan Gosling both said like that's not why Neil Armstrong went there. That was not his purpose, and that's not what was keeping him strong in his heart and like keeping him fighting to get there and like never giving up. There was a much deeper meaning to it, which you see, and that's what they wanted to show, because in the end it wasn't about politics. It was about him and why he fought so hard to get there. And I thought that it was very powerful and one of the best parts in the movie. And again, the whole like the last 20 minutes of the movie is him getting to the moon, and it was such a good payoff. It was so exciting. The score was great. The cinematography was great. Damien Chazelle killed it again. I don't know why not a lot of people are seeing this at the box office. I'm hoping that it has long legs and that over time, because it's going to get nominated for an Oscar, I guarantee it. So, that Oscar buzz is probably going to bring more people back to it. So they're probably going to keep it in theaters a little bit longer than usual. And I'm hoping it gets its money back and gets what it deserves, because this was just such a fantastic movie, and I really can't figure out why not more people are going to see it. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Are you excited to see this movie? Do you think Damien Chazelle knocked it out of the park? Did you think it was boring? Are you as curious as I am to see what Damien Chazelle does next? Let's talk about it down below, and as always, I'll catch you next time.